In this issue of Spacecraft Guide, we're going to continue our work on teaching you how to fly the space shuttle, and we're going to focus again on the instrument that the astronauts used to determine the condition of their spacecraft for navigation and spatial orientation by focusing on the primary flight display. And when we click on it, it takes us to the primary flight display page. Now we're going to focus again up here on these displays, which tells us what the computer is thinking. And we're going to focus here on this one right here. This one that says ATT LVLH, and that is the ADI Attitude Status Display. And when you click on it, that goes to the ADI Attitude Status Display. Now, what this does is it provides a continuous display of the unit's frame of reference, okay, which are internal, local vertical, local horizon, and reference. Now, what do those mean? Now, internal means the position allows the flight crew to view the orbital's attitude with respect to the inertial reference frame. Now, that's useful for locating stars. So what they're doing is they're setting up this instrument right here with a bunch of stars to which could be stars, to give them an independent reference frame of what they want to navigate by. The next is the LVLH, and that position, it shows the orbital's attitude from an orbiter-centered rotating reference frame with respect to the Earth. Now, this, as you can see, is going to be with respect to the Earth. It's upside down because we know that because the white should be on top. So this is reference to the Earth upside down, and that is here in the master mode. It's 103. That means we're still taking off. We're getting into orbit, and we're upside down on our back getting into orbit. And you can see there's the horizon. We're a few degrees up, pointing, getting into our orbit. So that what LVLH, and then the reference position is primarily used to see the orbital's attitude with respect to an initial reference frame defined when the flight crews last depressed the attitude reference push button above the attitude ADI switch. The reference position is useful when the crew flies back to a previous attitude or monitors an OMS burn for attitude excursions. Okay, so let's look at this one here. It gets a little difficult. This is your reference position. You put the reference position in here by selecting a push button. And when that does, it sort of freezes. It's like if you're playing a simulator and you freeze the sim in a position that you can come back to it. That's basically what you're doing. Or if you're on Google Maps and you put a pin in it. So this is basically putting a pin into where they are in orbit around the Earth. Now, why would you want to put a pin in? That's in case you want to get back to that attitude. When would that be useful? Well, let's say that you need to go to a specific attitude to, you put a sample in space, now you move to go somewhere else, and you want to come back to that sample that's in orbit in space and pick it up. That's where this would be useful. Now, the other one they say here, I love this, they use their term, monitors for OMS burn for an attitude excursion. Oh, wow. Attitude excursion. What is an excursion? It means you're leaving an attitude. You're going from, maybe you're going from docking with one satellite to docking to another, so that you're doing an excursion to get to another satellite. So that's what that all is for the ADI attitude status display. Now, for our Patreon subscribers, even the free ones, the ones that don't cost you anything, we're going to go deeper into the schematics. So, if you are a Patreon subscribers, including the free ones, which you can join up right now and see what I'm going to go into, if you click on schematic, it takes you to a diagram of what all the information is working on in the computer. You see the dedicated display and control system here. This are all of the players when it comes to the display. And you can see here is the driver display unit, and where it's getting its information from here is the centers and the subsystems. Now that brings the information into the computers. Now we are going to be with the Attitude Director Indicator, the ADI. So this is what we're looking at in the inputs from that, and that going into our attitude status display, our ADI attitude status display. So this is where we're living in right now. So all this information from the computers, we've dialed in with the switches what we want to use with the display units, and also coming into the display units, that's where we're like right over here in this on the screen. So that's where this is on the diagram. So that is if you were a paying or a Patreon subscribers. Now, if you're a paying Patreon subscriber, we're going to go a little bit deeper into the system so you can understand even more what we're talking about. So if you are paying Patreon subscribers for $4 a month, that again, a cup of Starbucks coffee, you could go with us and get a deeper explanation of the ADI attitude status display. And when you click on schematics, we go back to that dedicated display. But what we want to do is go to the ADI switch. So if we come back up here and we go to, here we are, the ADI, we're going to go to the instrument power switch on panel 6. And in that, we're going to go, we'll click on that. That'll take us to this switch right here. And the ADI, this is the switch that we're talking about. Now, the computer is going to be explaining or using this as our reference. So you see here, it's the ADI. We have the attitude internal, LVLH, and ref. Now this is how all that information is getting to the display. We're selecting what reference is there. So once we select one, then we can go like this one says LVLH. If we go back to the display, see the attitude is an LVLH, and that is where we're living in right now. So that switch, this is telling us, okay, you put the attitude in LVLH, and let's say you didn't want it in LVLH, then you know that you have to go back to that switch and reselect this for if you want to do internal, where you want to do your own attitudes from the internals of the spacecraft. This is where you want to go. If you want to go to reference to get a reference point to put a pin in that orbit to come back to it, this is where you would go. So once again, thank you again for being a subscriber. I really do appreciate all of your support, and please, 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 if you can, maybe subscribe to a higher a tier if you can. And also, if you could help subscribe, either get people to come to this site so we can do all of this, or maybe get someone who is a free member. If you can convince them to be a paying member, I would really appreciate it. And once again, I thank you.